On today's program, Nigerians continue to struggle under the burden of the current harsh economic realities as a result of the fallout of the economic policies introduced by the current administration, which continues to pacify its citizens to endure. And also on the program, Guinea's junta has ordered government members' passports to be seized and their bank accounts frozen after dissolving the administration for unknown reasons. Welcome to the conversation. I am Dakpo Adigboye. Let's talk. Against the backdrop of the current economic hardship occasioned by inflation and also the removal of fuel subsidy and the exorbitant prices of foodstuff and other basic services, youths and some traders recently took to the major streets in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, to protest against the high cost of living. Also, we recall that in the last few weeks, protests against the high cost of living and food have also been held in Niger State, Plateau, Kano, Sokoto, and Osun State, amongst other places. This is as the Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC, has also given an ultimatum to the federal government to address the pervasive hardship in the country decisively or risk a two-day national protest on the 27th and 28th of February this month. Well, to make sense of this, I'm joined in the studio at the moment by two amazing gentlemen, Chike Chude, public affairs analyst, and also Razak Olokoba, that's a public affairs analyst and fellow chartered public administrator, both with me in the studio. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
All right. You would say that the realities of what the average Nigerian is going through at the moment is, well, I call it really dire. But let me start off with this. Before we get into the issue of the protest, let me start off with you, Razak. What do you make of the current, well, I call it reactions by the current administration to sort of manage the situation? We know that in the past few days, we've seen the EFCC, for instance, raid some bureau de change operations, across Nigeria. One happened in Abuja, another one happened in Ibadan, in Oyo State just today. We've also seen a situation whereby food is being released for distribution. Even the customs, there was a report that, some confiscated bags of rice, is being distributed and all of that. What do you make of this? Will I call it immediate palliative responses or immediate policy responses of the government to address this situation?
Well, thank you very much. In your intro, you captured it correctly by saying that all of us agree that the country is witnessing some challenges. For me, I knew it would come to this. I knew that it's going to come to this. I knew that there will be so many others.
But did you ever envisage it will get to the point it is at the moment?
Yes, I know it will go to a point where Nigerians will wonder, how did we get to this point? The gestation period is 2 years. I've been saying it from the beginning of this administration. Just as how I've insisted.
So we should expect this to continue for about 2 years?
A bit more harder.
Harder than what it is.
And it is good for us to brace up for it. We are all in the field of management science together. My colleague here, all of us. Where's the full proof theory that you will get out of this environment? That's what I engage many people for that. Okay, the guy is not doing well. What's your own alternative to what he's doing at the moment? There is no automatic set of policy when he was coming in to assure us that when he gets there, everything is experimental. All the policies are experimental. And if it fails,
all the policies being introduced right now
are experimental. It may fail, it may work. If it fails, you change it. And the painful aspect of it is that we all agree that things are bad, but our understanding of it differs. For me, I knew very well that if we do the right thing, you are going to be combating certain people who run currency traffic in your country. You want to dislodge them and you think it's going to be a joke. Some people lost the election. Some people, so many challenges from automatic people who are your opposition. Then also from Nigerians who are not the author of this problem. They will get angry with you. They are not the author of this problem. But the concern I have is that we see, majority of Nigerians see it the way we are supposed to. How are we supposed to see it? The way we are supposed to see it is to make the correct demand.
What is the correct demand?
When I see protests in Ibadan, I see protests going on all over the country.
Okay.
And including the one that rocked the entire nation, the NSAS. And I said that the people who guide demands from government are not guiding our people correctly. And what do I mean by that? There's nobody that will operate Nigeria with this kind of structure that will prosper. And that's the most correct demand. Devolution of power. The president is presiding over the life of 250 million Nigerians. And you think he's going to do any magic to make our life better? No, sir. So the direction we will all be looking at, if I am left to make demand for Nigeria, is to tell Mr. President that somebody has operated the country with the same structure. This is the result we have today. And we must be looking in the direction where you are going to share your responsibility. You have so much responsibility, then we are going to hold you responsible for everything. If you don't want us to hold you responsible for everything, devolve power, devolution of power.
So you are saying that a solution to this is devolution of power.
And that is the painful aspect of it. Many of our people who are supposed to guide Nigerians to make this demand immediately all this government response from day one, the day they removed the oil subsidy.
Okay, because I'm trying to understand how this, of course, would solve the particularly economic issues. But maybe just to give our viewers
the
a bit of an idea.
The responsibility of our president is enormous. And if that is the case, you reduce responsibility on the president if we want to run our nation and attain what we have aspired for as the Eldorado that we're all aspiring for. If you don't do that, that's my summary.
We'll come back to you.
That's my summary.
Of course, I would like to know Chude's opinion on this, but just to give our viewers at home just some sort of idea of what an average Nigerian is going through. I would want that to come on screen, a sort of comparison as regards basic amenities. I'm talking about something as basic as feeding. The way it was as of January 2023 and what we have now, February 2024. I'm sure that that particular slide would come on the screen. But okay, so there you have it. Items as basic, for instance, as rice, that's one bag. As of January 2023 on the screen, you can see there used to go for 35,000 naira. February this year, it goes for as high as 77,000 naira, just a bag. Now, a crate of egg. Now, before, they will tell you that people that do not have, money, when they go to the canteen to buy food and cannot afford meat, egg is usually more or less like the result of the last man, or the result, when you really cannot afford meat. But right now, a crate of egg goes for as high as 6,000 naira. From 2,500 or so, that used to be in January 2023. Fuel per liter, we all know what it is, 600 plus. As at reports that we are getting today, is a bit scarce. Black market rate goes for as high as 1,000 naira, and it used to be about 250 naira per liter. Now, family bread, the king size bread, we know it used to be 650 as at 2023 January, goes for about 1,500. A sachet of water, that's the basic water, not bottled water. One bag goes for as high as, say, maybe 500 naira right now. And there you have it, just the breakdown there. Turkey, 1 kilo, and all of that. But let's come back to you today. We know what an average Nigerian is going through. These are basic items. They are not luxury. What do you make of it? And particularly the reaction of the current administration in terms of policy initiative, in terms of boots on the ground. Does it look like the administration knows exactly what to do or what it's doing?
No. The administration doesn't know what it's doing or what it's doing. If the administration knew what it's doing, it's just simple. It's simple. When the president came in, the president did not intend, I want to believe, did not intend for the dollar, naira exchange rate to get to 1,000. I'm sure he did not intend for it to get to 1,500 or 1,700, which it is floating at. So when he appointed the CBN governor, Cardoso, I'm sure Cardoso, then I think maybe it was around 1,900 or so when he became CBN governor. I'm sure he did not also want the exchange rate to be, at the level it is now. And so from the moment that he came in, he was trying to address these issues. And what is the outcome? It has continued to go beyond his ability to address. So that means that whatever it is that they're doing is not working. If they knew anything else they could do to arrest the situation, I'm sure they would have done it. So they are churning out policies, hoping that this will work, this will not work. It is like a witch's brew. When, you put in one frog here, the tail of a frog, you put in maybe a cockroach here and there, and then you want to see what is going to come out of it. So that's why every attempt they have made, has not generated the kind of success that they wanted or that they expected. Clearly, that means that they are confused. And then you have other issues within the system itself that makes life much more difficult for Nigerians. We're not only talking about the collapse of the exchange rate and all the other things going on within the economy. You're also talking about the fact that power generation has gotten to an all-time low, because these are all the things that are supposed to make life easier for the average Nigerian. So power generation, we are told the other time that it fell to as low as 2,400, 2,600. And in most parts of the country, there is no light. So things are degenerated. And then as a result of that, the discourse, the IMF, the World Bank, they have come in as usual to say that the subsidy in the power sector has to be removed. And so 3 days after the IMF made that statement, the Minister of Energy, Adelabu, came on air to tell Nigerians to make the same complaints and that there was too much subsidy, has to be removed. So sometimes you want to wonder, and people have always warned about following wholesale the directives of the IMF and the World Bank. Because some years ago, when we had this crisis and collapse in some of these, some Latin American countries, the IMF came out to say that, look, most of the panaceas, economic panaceas, they had developed for developing countries or underdeveloped countries of the world have not worked. So why they keep on pushing some of these policies to the Nigerian people and to other countries, the underdeveloped countries, what I don't know. They made subsidy look like a very bad word. Subsidy, that even the ordinary man on the street began to fear the word subsidy when you mention it. Let it go, let it go. But there's subsidy in Europe. Why is there subsidy? To make the lives of Europeans better, to make the lives of the people of Europe, the United States, wherever, better. There's subsidy in the steel. The French government is subsidizing.
So are you saying a subsidy in itself isn't bad, but the way it's been...
No. Subsidy.
Okay. Would you like to react?
Let me finish. As an economic policy, subsidy is supposed to alleviate, lift certain people out of maybe the terrible condition that they find themselves in. So it's a cushion, more or less, to make life easier for people. But what you are now seeing is that, and you talked also about the reception of the Nigerian people towards what is going on. When people have a choice between eating and not eating, I think the choice that they have to make is very clear. So this is not about wanting to protest bad governance or whatever it is. It's about survival. The people are hungry, and they will not listen to any other thing until the government addresses this issue of poverty and hunger in the land.
Okay, I think we should listen to that.
You see, as people who want this country to work, there are certain debates we should close. We should debate it, agree on it, and close it. The whole question of subsidy, we all know that it's only an irresponsible country that don't subsidize. We all admit, we all agree. But we said, the model of policy introduced in Nigeria on all sector is fraud. We all agree on that. So why are we reversing this argument again? Nobody is condemning subsidy. In fact, you should subsidize agriculture if the government is buoyant. As many things as possible we can subsidize. But what we are saying is that the way you run Nigerian subsidy is eating deep in Nigerians' pocket, and we are not feeling it. So the question of debate about subsidy appears to me that we are wasting each other's time. We shouldn't be discussing about whether you should remove the subsidy or not. It's gone. And
is it gone?
It's gone. What I mean is that all of us agree that there should be a subsidy.
Okay.
But that the subsidy we run in Nigeria is a fraudulent one. We all agree on that too. Or don't you agree on that?
Okay.
And proceeding from that, we now say that the best option is let's move to stage one, suspend that policy. It doesn't mean that subsidy will not come back. But at the moment, it must go. If you don't stop the subsidy at the time you stop it, it's going to create more problem for Nigeria. That's one. That point has been made. So that the debate about it again should not be creating crisis of understanding for Nigerians. We have to conclude that. And that's how nations are built. Then, on government itself, we have said it that it's a shared responsibility. I keep saying this. The excuse of the neoliberal advice that is coming from IMF, Paris Club, London Club, is not the reason why we are in this mess. The reason why we are in this mess is that we are running a rickety political structure. It's too expensive, it's unworkable, and it's wrong for our peculiarities. The earlier we build a barricade around the president to let him realize that the structure is not going to take us anywhere, the better for us. Hanging on certain arguments and certain conjectures. But sorry, let me make my point so that the people at home understand us very well. Let's go to the whole question of the power sector. We said that there should be a devolution of power on power sector. That the government should, the minimal intervention government needs on power sector is area where it involves sensitivity in terms of security, that if it is given to individual, it's a security risk, which can be used to weaponize and do to anything. We all agree on that. But you should go back to the state governors. What are the state governors doing about it? If you hold the president responsible and the federal government responsible that the government is not educating Nigerians enough to hold the state governors responsible on power sector, I agree. But to say that the way we run power sector in Nigeria is going to work, the agreement the previous government had with the private sector on power is porous, and it gives the businessmen there to go home with free money. Where in an area they book 5 million for PSN staff, you use Plateau, you don't use Plateau. Why is it possible? It's because it's bogus. It's a federal government controlled initiative. It's a federal government controlled institution, and we say break it down into 36 states, where each state will have ability to generate power for itself. And you are running argument, you are not away from that.
The Minister of Power, okay.
The Minister, sorry, quickly.
Maybe we should.
Let me on the final note.
Okay.
Minister of Power can say anything.
It talks about funding and liquidity.
See, the Minister of Power can say anything, government can say anything. You as a people must be assertive. You as a people, me as a people must be assertive. And that is the responsibility we are all running away from. Once the government says anything, what they are responsible. Any policy they make is about our life. So don't let us leave it to them to say that once they talk, it's unchangeable. It's changeable.
So the people. Sorry, let's listen to
so that you can respond appropriately.
So the people are assertive on the streets, and sometimes, in as much as one might even buy some of the arguments about whether you devolve power and all of that, because there's a general agreement. No, it's the right of the people.
No, it's right. What that means is that the methodology of going to the street is wrong.
No, but the government is responding, whether they are responding correctly or not, because the government, let me tell you,
you are misleading the government if government is responding.
No, the government is responding. The government is talking about palliative.
Protesting. No. You are misleading the government.
The government.
Let's listen.
You are on the street. What are the contents of the
Razak? No. Please, let's listen.
Can I answer me? So that you can answer me. So that I can answer me.
Yeah.
Your demand on the street, what were those your demand? Can you tell Nigerians so Nigerians will hear you? What were your demands on the street?
They want a better life. They want the prices of food. Excuse me.
Did you hear him?
Excuse me. They want
how?
No, it doesn't. Look,
gentlemen, let's
lies with the government that was voted for by the people. It is the responsibility of people to the government to provide a better life, as given to them by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That the primary responsibility of government is the welfare of the people and the protection of the people. That is the responsibility of the government.
Brother, this is
excuse me, let me land.
Please let him land.
Whether it's romanticizing or not. And when the government fails in that process, then the people also, because the price we have to pay for democracy is eternal vigilance. And it is the people that have to protect their democracy. It is not even the political leadership, because it is people that are going to mark the scorecard of the political leadership.
Let's talk about specifics.
When you're talking, excuse me, please. Excuse me, please. You have made statements and I have not said that your statements are wild and bogus. So you can't say that my statement is wild.
Let's look at, let's examine, you know, the statement by the Speaker of the, that's the Senate President, sorry, on the floor of the House, where, of course, he talked about, or his reaction to some of the protests across the nation. Of course, I would like that slide to come up here. A part of the things the Senate President did say is that you can see a lot of sponsored protests here and there, but those people are not aware. Most of those sponsored protesters are not aware of the kind of efforts made by the Senate to tackle the situation together with the management team of the federal government. And it goes further to say, unverified reports have it that the state governments in the last few months have received additional 30 billion naira from the Federal Inland Revenue Service outside their normal allocation and from the federal account to assist them in ameliorating the food situation, end of quote. Now, of course, what I want to bring out here is the word he used. They said sponsored protest. I mean, we saw the earlier slide where he showed the current reality of Nigerians in terms of something as basic as feeding. And you talked about we not just taking the government, you know, at face value when it comes to policy, but they have the bird's eye view on these issues, right? So my question is this. I'm still going to stay with you, Chude. That word sponsored that the Senate President used, I mean, what's your reaction to it? And the fact that they said that if people knew better, maybe,
it's a word, yeah.
You know, the kind of reactions they are getting.
It's a word that applies to all of them, because if he says that the crowd are sponsored, he's saying that Nigerians are not capable of understanding what hunger means and what suffering means. He's saying that he's not capable of understanding that, just like you said, last year, a bag of rice sold for 35,000 naira. Now it is selling for 75,000 naira. A family loaf of bread sold for 650 naira. Now it is selling for 1,500 naira. So what the Senate President is saying is that these things are not true. That it is not true that prices of goods and services have gone up in this country. That's what he's saying. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the implication of what he's saying. You know, but besides that, you know, if politicians sponsor people from time to time, some of them out of mischief, some of them out of they want to win the hearts and minds of the people, and they themselves, the APC government today, has been guilty of that. Mm-hmm. After all, we could say that all of the agitations against Jonathan and the PDP was also sponsored. But the issue of sponsorship, is it a criminal offense? If it is a criminal offense and laws of this country have been broken, then let them throw the book at the people who are sponsoring people illegally and committing a crime in the process. So no crime is being you know, committed. And besides, and the next thing they will tell is that opposition is partisan. Why would an opposition not be partisan? An opposition has to be partisan. That's what it does, because the same way the APC government was partisan, they needed to remove Jonathan and made all kinds of statements against Jonathan and tried to mobilize the people against the Jonathan administration, at least peacefully. It is the constitutional responsibility of political parties to enlighten the people, to open their minds to what is going on. If they don't do it, then they are not doing their job as opposition. APC did it and did it so well, and they were able to get Jonathan out of power. So these are the excuses that we should not be looking at. He's talking about what kind of information that is. So let them get the information, the right information, across to the people, since the people are having the wrong information. But the people must not forget that this Senate President and his colleagues bought cars of 160 million naira in the midst of poverty, grinding poverty in this country. They must not forget. They must not forget the kind of ostentatious lives that all of them are living in the midst of poverty. So these are the truths. And so when he says this, he just tells you that these people are not in connection. They are not in sync with the Nigerian people. I mean, and that's why they keep on moving from one mistake to another. Still talking,
Razak, you react. I mean, I want you to react to this. Still talking about the reaction of the government recently, the Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, actually said a few things too concerning the state of affairs in the country. In his words, he said, "We know the consequence of unveiling the masquerade. Forces are hell-bent on plunging this country into a state of anarchy. Those that could not get into power through the ballot box, instead of waiting for 2027, they are so desperate this country can fall apart as far as they are concerned, but we are going to visit them." End of quote. Do you think that there's some sort of sabotage?
First and foremost, I completely agree with my colleague here that the protests we see, more than half of them are truly angry Nigerians. And having said that, it is also true that the political class who actually wanted to take advantage of that situation. That's the strategy in Nigeria. Use the anger in the land to mess the government in government, to justify when election will come. Man will say, you see, I'm the best bride. I told you about this party. It is the reason why I think the APC is saying that we have to stop being partisan. Maybe Parliament have gotten to power. That when it comes to security, don't talk politics about that. If it comes to winning souls for ballots, for voting, we can be political. But when it comes to kidnapping, the killing of our traditional rulers, cattle rustling, blocking farmers from going to farm, don't let us do the politics with that. Let's put our heads together to find the solution. And I want to return back to the pattern of my argument that, for instance, it's my good comrade. We were together with Labour in the days of Oshiomhole. We formed what is called LASCO, the Labour and Civil Society Coalition, where we always agree on method of our protest and agitation. And in some of our arguments, we agree with Labour that this protest all the time. Can we also define some strategies for the government, which is part of the thing we are recommending to Ajiru today, that you see, protest will not speak to the soul of the manufacturing associations, will not speak to the soul of farmers. Labour, in conjunction with the willing civil society, should engage manufacturers that what is the landing cost of each product. When you ascertain that, that's when you can be discussing the whole question of increasing salary. But as it is today, it doesn't make any sense to increase salary today, only for that as 10 naira and become 30 naira tomorrow. Does that make, is that a perfect strategy? So Labour ran away from it and went to the street. So me, I won't follow that kind of protest. The same thing goes to farming. Farming, we all know very well that we live in a country where the state push everything to Mr. President. Good for Mr. President if they push everything to him, because we have said that you need to devolve this power that you have. Make it clear to Nigerians that I don't have certain power again. As long as you don't declare that and you don't demonstrate that constitutionally, governor will still keep coming back to you. But as secretary as it is, there are things that the governors can do about the state. I come from Kwara. Boo is an international market that can feed the world of Southwest and a part of North Central. But look at the governor of Kwara. What is he doing about it? The road network from Ilorin to Boo is bad, and that goes for all the governors in the state. So will you hold the president responsible for that? And that's why I'm saying that there are demands that we should be clearer about. If it is a protest about that governors, what are you doing about all the food basket in all your states? What did you tar the road to all those states? Then on security, we've been talking about state police. If NSAS have been talking about state police, I will agree with them. We have protested together. They have been shot out. We've been shot out together. We've been in the same detention together. And the point is that the anger in the land now is going to create more confusion for president if he don't outline what he needs to do in terms of security. How do you run the economy? The neoliberal economy all of us are making noise about. The same neoliberal economy they run in India, they run in certain part of majority part of Europe, and it's working for them. What is messing our currency up is because someone's product, that is someone's property, the country is stealing it, which is the oil.
I think we should
create an alternative where you are not going to be dependent on dollar again. And for people, stop depending on product that will require foreign currency before you have access to it. So all these things are specific demand must be before the president.
Some of these policies, we know that
it is likely for president to think, I've been in government before, I've been outside government before. It is likely for the government, when you are not specific about some of these demands, to conclude that you are being sponsored by the opposition. But when you are specific about some of these demands, it's going to be clearer to him, and it's going to be clearer to majority of Nigerians that, okay, this is a pathway. So
all right. I mean, you said quite a lot of things, Razak, right? But I would like to come to you today. We've seen efforts, policy efforts, from the government to try to stabilize the Naira, to also work around making the standard of living, drop and all of that. But would you say that sabotage, somewhere is at play to ensure that some of this, initiatives, this efforts by the government doesn't see the light, of day?
Society is made up of all manners of actors. Good actors, state and non-state actors. Some of them good, some of them bad. It's about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reality is that within society are people who have influence and who have the resources to undermine certain aspects of the economy of a country for personal gain. These things are there, they happen. But why do you think you have security, the police, EFCC, ICPC? Why do you think you have that? And that they are under the control of the President of Nigeria? So that anybody who tries to subvert the good fortunes of the country, the President uses the resources of the state to go after such people and to deal with them in order to protect society. So it's there. Because we've always had, when we want to provide excuses, if Obasanjo, the same thing wanted to, in the few years of Obasanjo's government, when people began to protest, what Nigerians were saying? People began to talk. You know what Nigerians were saying? Obasanjo is a good man. He has good intentions, but it's the people around him that are bad. We heard the same thing about Jonathan. We heard the same thing at the early stages of Buhari. He's a good man. He wants to turn the country around. He's fastidious. He's this. But it's just the cabal, because that was one word that Nigerians know. Cabals are existing. So who have these cabals? Sometimes government gives us the impression that they know who the cabals are, but are unable to do anything about it. For instance, the whole issue of even the subsidy itself, fuel subsidy, government has always told us that there are some people that are benefiting and profiting from it. Who are these people? Government, for one, has never mentioned them. You understand? So what it means is that it's like when you have a rat in your house, or you have quite a bit of number of rats in your house, and you are looking for a solution. You know what the solution is? That is you can liken to this issue of subsidy. You know what the solution is? Burn the house down so that you kill all the rats inside it. That's the solution Nigerians have. Because it means it shows the failure of government. Government has so much power and ability. But again, I would agree. I know you want to round up. I would agree that this issue of devolution, eventually you have to come to it, because that is the only way this country can move forward. Okay. You understand? We had a constitution that worked in the 60s, 50s and the 60s. All of a sudden, we forgot about that, and then too many things began to happen. But it's not an excuse for the failure of the Nigerian state today. Even with the bad contraption of a constitution that we have, we could have done better than we have done.
All right, gentlemen, of course, I'd love to continue with the conversation, but we are pressed for time on the first segment of this show. Gentlemen, that's Achike Chude, Public Affairs Analyst, and also Razak Olokova, Public Affairs Analyst, and also fellow with a Chartered Public Administrator. Thank you, gentlemen, once again for making out time to be with me in the studio.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
And of course, discussing national issues.